Deputy Speaker, I draw the House's attention to my interests in the Register. Mr Deputy Speaker, it's quite right that we should be debating global Britain in this week, the 75th anniversary of the founding of the United Nations, and the House of Commons will want to mark with sadness the passing of Sir Brian Urquhart, one of the principal architects of the United Nations, a fine British international civil servant. And of course, as my right honourable friend from Maidenhead said, the power of a passionate, compelling vision for global Britain has the ability to unite the United Kingdom and all four parts of it in one vision at a time when that union is under very great pressure. Now, I want to make two specific comments about global Britain. The first is about the what. And it seems to me very important that global Britain, and as my right honourable friend said, we await the report because we've had the money but not yet the report of what it's going to stand for. It's very important that global Britain should represent values rather than geographies. This again enables us from time to time to agree with China but to disagree with Donald Trump. And of course, the UK has been a very bright light in many difficult parts of the country, standing up for the rule of law, standing up for human rights, against Islamic terror, against meddling Russians, against Chinese human rights abuse, and in favour of women's rights and the fight against starvation. When it comes to the how, Mr Deputy Speaker, I think that the international rules-based system is the key. The UK has real leverage on this. Our seat in the United Nations as a leading member of the Commonwealth, that important North-South organisation which embraces so much of the world. Our principal position in NATO, the fact that we are a European power in or out of the European Union, our relationship with the United States, and of course the British language, which in terms of commerce, trade and law, gives Britain such a preeminent position, quite apart from the City of London as an international centre. And, Mr Deputy Speaker, as others have referred to, we have development. Over the last 2 decades, Britain has become a development superpower. The ideas of British universities, the actions on the grounds of Britain's international NGOs, the policy formation of the think tanks, which is why I do ask the government to think again on breaking the Point 7 promise on which every single member of this House of Commons was elected just 1 year ago. And remember, Mr Deputy Speaker, that the Point 7 has already been reduced. I'm afraid I can't, I've got so little time. I give way to my honourable friend.
I'm very grateful to my right honourable friend, and he is a champion for DFID spending. But will he agree with me that now outside of the European Union, our intention to lower tariffs for third world countries will long-term result in much more support for them than just the DFID money?
Well, of course, I'm very grateful to my honourable friend. Of course, he is right that trade is the key, but in order to get to a point where countries can trade, you need many of the very important services that DFID has been providing in some of the poorest parts of the world. And, Mr Deputy Speaker, remember that the Point 7 has already been reduced because it is connected with our gross national income by nearly £3 billion. If this cut goes ahead, the development budget will be reduced by nearly 50%, and that is the worst thing you could do in a pandemic, which we know will never be defeated here until it is defeated everywhere. It is the most terrible timing at a point where we approach the chair of the G7, where we will this year chair the United Nations Security Council, and where we have the most important COP in Glasgow in November. It would be a terrible mistake, and I urge the Treasury bench to think again about this £4 billion reduction, just 1% of the borrowing this year. It should not be carried out in this way, and it should not be carried out at this time.